Good morning and welcome to the attendees who are here and to Bureau staff who are here in our board hearing room, and also to our attendees who are joining the meeting via the Zoom link. And if there's anyone on the Zoom link who would wish to offer public commentary or commentary on any of our items on today's agenda, if you would please press *6 to raise your hand at this time. I can record your name for the record. And caller C.T. Williams, if you would please press *9 to unmute and identify yourself for the record and let me know which items you'd like to speak on. Is it Dr. Williams?
Hello.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Williams.
Hello. Hi. Dr. Tom Williams, general public comment.
Very good. And any of our items today, Dr. Williams? Just general public
Not
comment?
today.
Okay, very good.
Next week.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah. Okay, cool. No, you didn't. Your real parties of interest. So you don't have any time limit?
Only for call.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, thanks.
Only if they need something.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dave.
This will be smooth. So they'll have you go up first.
Are you first on the agenda or second?
On the second on the agenda, they'll have you go up first. Have engineering come up and speak.
Okay.
And then the commission president knows you're here.
Okay.
So she will call you up and say whatever you like.
It really is. It's only if we have any questions. If it wasn't, we're here to answer the questions. See if there's any challenge.
Feelings that you have and stuff. It's kind of important, just kind of. That's it.
You had problem with parking?
It's just on information. They
They have a new rule now.
don't vote on it, they may decide.
I know, they have a new rule they have to put on the list.
They want to ask us some questions.
Good.
All my job is to do is
Number one, and I'm still at the parking lot like 12 minutes.
We'll talk after.
Hi, thank you. Angela, right? Yeah, all right, cool, thank you. Once again, good morning. This is Assistant Executive Officer TJ Knight, and thank you for all of our staff and attendees who are in the room, in the Board of Public Works hearing room, for our meeting today and to all of the attendees who are joining us via Zoom. If there's anyone else who is joining in the room who would wish to offer public comment or commentary on any of our items, we do ask that you fill out a speaker card located on the table in the back of the room. And for anyone on the Zoom call who wishes to offer public comment or commentary on any of our items who has not already identified themselves, if you would please press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself. Identify yourself for the record and which items you're speaking on. I will record your name for the record at this time. And thank you to all of our panelists from the bureaus who have joined via Zoom at this time as well. And we should get started in the next 3 to 4 minutes. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Ready to start? TJ?
We are.
Okay.
Yes. I will go ahead and begin recording on the Zoom.
Okay.
And Madam President, we are in record mode.
Thank you, TJ. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works for Friday, March 17, 2023. TJ Knight?
Good morning, Madam President Garcia. TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer, taking role in establishing quorum. President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, Commissioner Corsand, and Commissioner Reyes are present. We do have a quorum. We are also joined by City Attorney Representative Mr. Ted Jordan. Once again, I'm Assistant Executive Officer TJ Knight. And just for the record, President Pro Tem Davis is on an approved absence today.
Correct. Thank you very much, TJ Knight. TJ, did you say we had a public comment?
We do have one speaker card under public comment. We have no neighborhood council commentary and no speaker cards under any of our items this morning.
Okay, we'll take public comment now.
Very good. Dr. Williams, if you would please press star 6 to unmute, and you'll have 2 minutes to offer your comment.
Good morning, Dr. Tom Williams, El Sereno resident. We're improving on the ADA street crossing curb ramp compliance. However, a major issue is on Broadway. At 32930 Broadway and at 62829 Broadway, there are no curb ramps for the mid-block crossings. None. Zero. Not even, we can quibble over a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch on the lip, but there are none between 3rd and 4th and 6th and 7th. So what went wrong? Was it a problem that the designers didn't include curb ramps for crossing? Or was it a matter that the final inspection didn't catch it and they paid for it? Or we paid for it? So it's a question as to ADA compliance has been around for only 40, 50 years. I helped start it back in Berkeley in 1972, I think it was. So it's a question as to why these lapses. And there are many other lapses, but thank God, Fernando got us talking to each other at least, and I'm trying to resolve what's going on regarding ADA compliance, because we have wheelchair people in El Sereno that have to use the streets because they can't get in. We were also told that there are other conditions or regards as to who's going to pay for it. And oh, by the way, having dinner in the curb lane
2 minutes. That's 2 minutes. Dr.
without
Williams.
any particular ramp for wheelchair-bound people is not compliant with ADA compliance for the restaurant and for the city street. So take a look at those. That's all.
Thank you.
Does that conclude public comment, TJ?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
President
With that, we are closing public comment officially and moving on to the approval of the minutes of Friday, March 3rd for 2023. Is there a second to my motion to approve the minutes of Friday, March 3rd? So moved. Thank you, Vice President Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by me and a second by Vice President Villegas to approve the minutes of March 3rd, 2023.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and that is approved.
Great, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Again, welcome to our chambers. It's so nice to see folks here and today, and also to those that are joining us via the Zoom platform. Welcome and thank you for being here on Friday, March 17th. We have a very special recognition today. We have our Persian New Year board presentation where we are acknowledging Iranians that work within our Bureau of Public Works in general, and just how great and the contribution that our Iranian community provides to us. And so with that, I'm passing over the mic to our Commissioner Corson, to lead us on today's presentation. Commissioner Corson.
Good morning. As in Farsi we say, Eid Shoma Mubarak. Today is my privilege to join my commissioners and members of the Public Works and City Families in celebrating Iranian Heritage Month and the Persian New Year, also known as Nowruz, which, when broken down into English, literally means new day, which is marked on the spring equinox every year. Nowruz is the rite dating back to at least the 6th century BC. I did not know that part, marking the new year and ushering in spring. Nowruz is celebrated not just by Iranians, but by people of many different religious and cultural backgrounds across the vast region, including Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, India, Iran, Iraq, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkey, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. In honor of it, we are recognizing this morning the achievements and invaluable contributions of 3 outstanding Iranian women from the Bureaus of Public Works. This is a special moment for me personally, as I was reminded by some of our engineers within the BOE in October that I am the first Iranian American to serve on the Board of Public Works in Los Angeles. And like many of the 400,000+ Iranians in the LA region, I am an immigrant from Iran, and to mark this achievement is just remarkable in general, to think that we could be here in leadership, in positions where we are improving the everyday lives of Angelenos and those who visit Los Angeles. And the city, though it is very diverse, sometimes when you're an immigrant, you get lost into who do I know who speaks Farsi, especially when you're young and you go to elementary school and you don't have a lot of friends and you don't have a lot of relatives your own age, but then you come across fellow Iranians and it's just easier to acclimate and assimilate and to grow within the city and in school. And so I'm really pleased and proud to be standing before you, and I'm thankful to my colleagues, the commissioners of the Board of Public Works, who allowed us to do this for the first time. It is an uneasy time for Iranian women across the world. There are things going on that have sparked within Iran that make celebrating Iranian women in the month of March, which is also International Women's History Month, a remarkable feat, in that it shows to the world, and not just the city of Los Angeles, that when it comes to equity and gender equity, Los Angeles and the United States believes in it firmly, and we will fight for it and we will stand for it. And we do that really well within the Board of Public Works, where we have leadership made up of 3 women on our board of 5 and 2 in leadership. So from that said, today we get to celebrate 3 Iranian women, and we will start with Vice President Villegas, who will introduce our honoree from the Bureau of Engineering.
Thank you, Commissioner Corsan, for the lovely reception that we had this morning. It's nice to meet all of the ladies being honored today, and nice to see the families as well. It's not just an effort from, the Iranian women, but it's also a support system that is behind them. So it's nice to be able to meet you all in a casual setting. Good morning, and it is my pleasure to introduce the honoree for the Bureau of Engineering. and that is Nazila Norifar. And we call her Naz, as she's known by her colleagues and friends. And she is a civil engineer in the Bureau of Engineering. She started in 2015 as a civil engineer associate in the wastewater conveyance construction division, and then went to the Central District at the Development Services public counter. And then in 2019, went to the Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division, and shortly after that, she promoted to Civil Engineering Associate 3. It's quite a feat. After completing her rotation, she transferred to the Central District Office, and in 2021 was promoted to Civil Engineer in charge of the U-Permit group, which is where she's at now. Her current duties include supervising 6 staff that reviews approximately 5,700 U-permits per year. That's not easy. In addition to managing the U-Permit group, she coordinates and hosts a monthly substructure committee meeting that includes all of the utility companies to discuss issues and policies. Naz is hardworking. She's a dedicated team player that always puts her staff's well-being in front of her own. She takes great pride in providing training to ensure her staff have the appropriate equipment and technology to make sure they are successful at their duties. She moved to the United States in 2010, and after settling in, she sponsored her parents to move here. She recently got married and enjoys watercolor painting, exercising, and exploring local coffee shops. You'll have to give us some recommendations. Naz, thank you so much for the important work in managing thousands of permits for the city and for the Department of Public Works. We are happy to recognize you today for all of your achievements. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If I may have a little bit of speech. It was about 13 years ago that I came to the United States alone to chase my dream of freedom, to be able to be whoever I wanted to be, to become the woman of my dreams. I had to leave everything I worked so hard for and my family behind, and that's where it all started. It definitely was not easy, but now looking back at it, but now looking back at all I went through, I can definitely say it was all worth it. Thank you, City of LA Bureau of Engineering, for trusting me and giving me the chance. Thank you, my family, for always, always being there for me and pushing me to be strong. And thank you, my new family, and my husband, Marcos, for supporting me in anything and any path I decide to take. Thank you, Vice President Villegas and Commissioner Corsant, for your continuous support, and Wesley, my division manager, for nominating me. Today, I can say I am the woman I always wanted to be, the woman of my dreams. And I wish this for all the women around the world, especially women of my country, fighting for the freedom right now. Happy Nowruz, and thank you so much again.
We're going to have Wesley from BOE say a few words and also present to you a certificate.
Thank you, Wesley Tenageri, Bureau of Engineering. Terrific words from Vice President Villegas and from Naz, very inspiring. There's not much more I can add, but she's a perfect employee and supervisor. It makes my job as a manager so easy. She takes charge, is very motivated, and needs very little supervision. And I have no doubt she'll be up at my level in no time, and maybe deputy engineer, city engineer, who knows. So it's my great honor to present this to Nazila Norifar for the Nowruz, commemorating Nowruz for the Bureau of Engineering.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Thank you, Vice President Villegas. And up next, we have from LA Sanitation, we'll have the introduction from Commissioner Reyes.
Very pleasant good morning to everyone, and Nowruz Mubarak. I am very honored to do this recognition for our LA San employee, Ida Maisami Fard. But before I go there, I just want to let you know that I am a mother-in-law of my Persian son-in-law who's expecting their first baby in October. And I am very, very happy to welcome him to my family as well. And you really make my family really eclectic. And with that, I am really proud to recognize and thank my fellow Commissioner Vahid Khorsand for having this recognition of women who genuinely reflect the very talented workforce of our city and who are descending from Iran descent. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. So it is my pleasure. Thank you. And of course, I observed Nowruz at the house, lots of food, lots of decorations. I love that. It's my pleasure to recognize Ida Maisami Fard from LA Sanitation and Environment. She is a senior civil engineer with a Safe Clean Water, our Measure M initiative, implementation division. Ida is responsible for developing and implementing stormwater projects throughout the city. Ida started her sanitation career in 2007 in the Watershed Protection Division with the Bayona Creek, the TMDL implementation group. She then went to the Low Impact Development, we call it the LID, right? Public Counter, where she was the lead engineer over LID implementation for the LA World Airports, the utilities and land enabling projects, and landslide access modernization projects. A mouthful, but it's very important. She led the transition of the LID public counters to provide full electronic services across all service categories. She has also served on the mayor's working group for temporary homeless shelters, as well as the mayor's COVID response team for development service departments. Another vital work that you did. Thank you. Ida is a first-generation Iranian American whose parents immigrated from Iran. She was born and raised in the United States, but is fluent in Farsi and is closely connected to her Iranian heritage and culture. I just want to thank you, Ida, for all the work you have done in the various positions over 15 years in LA Sanitation and Environment. Your role now in the Measure W projects is so important as we face the challenges in managing our water resources and capturing more storm water so we can be less reliant on non-city sources and agencies. Personally, thank you, and on behalf of this board, we recognize you, Ida. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. And I love that story. It's so great. And congratulations to you in advance for the new arrival on the way, for your grandchild. I'd like to thank Commissioner Khorsand and the entire Board of Public Works for this honor. I truly, truly appreciate it. I'd like to thank my Bureau Assistant Director Julie Allen and Division Manager Mike for nominating me and for always giving me the opportunities to do my best and help the constituents of the city of LA. I'd also like to thank my family for the sacrifices they made to come to this country and the opportunities that it has allowed me. It does not go, it's not lost on me. So I truly appreciate them for, in this, raising me in a country that still I understand my cultural heritage. And for that, I'm very grateful. And I'm so proud to be standing here with the other honorees, and I'm proud of all the Iranian women who work so hard throughout the city and everywhere. And I just want to wish everybody a happy Nowruz as well. Yes.
Good morning. I'm just so excited to be here today to honor the Iranian women in the in the Department of Public Works, and I thank the board and especially Commissioner Corsan for allowing us to be here to celebrate this event and honor our outstanding women. So I just want to say a little bit about Ida. I've only known her for about a year since I've been in LA San, but she's just not only an outstanding representative as an Iranian woman, but she's just one of the best employees that I've really worked with in the Department of Public Works. She's smart and thorough, and one of those people that will really help others that need assistance and cooperate and make sure that departments are working together and bureaus are working together to really solve problems that help out the residents of the city. So that's something I really appreciate and commend her for, and I'm just so excited she's chosen to stay in LA San and continue to be a wonderful employee in person for us in the Department of Public Works. So with that, I am honored to present the certificate of recognition to Ida for celebrating Iranian women for Nowruz, and thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to do that.
And our third honoree will be from the Bureau of Street Lighting, Meghedi Darabidian. Meghedi began her career in 2018 with the Bureau of Street Lighting and the Community Services Division, in which she addressed street lights and scheduling utility lighting on power poles. Her community services helped resolve hundreds of complaints in a short time. Thereafter, she rotated to the Transit Lighting Division, where she is currently a street lighting engineer associate. She is an integral member of the design build team working on great MTA projects such as the Purple Line, the East San Fernando Valley Line, and the upcoming Sepulveda Transit Line. Prior to joining the city, Meghedi worked for the city of Calabasas as a community liaison to address engineering and city services issued and attending to issuing permits. Meghedi is a true team player, and with her supervision classes, she is ready to lead successful design teams. She is currently working to get her professional license, and we in the Bureau of Street Lighting wish all the success along that path for her. She is an exceptional engineer with true public service attributes, team spirit, and always working hard to learn new engineering skills. Thank you, Meghedi, and your mom for all you've done for the City of LA and the Bureau of Street Lightings, and congratulations on this honor.
Thank you for this recognition. It is an honor to be part of the City of Los Angeles, who recognizes and celebrates cultural diversity. Today we are here to celebrate a holiday that marks the beginning of spring as well as the rebirth of nature. The symbolism within this celebration signifies the value of unity and peace. In acknowledgement to National Women's History Month, I would also like to recognize that despite limits to Iranian women's political and social power, Iranian women are leading protests in Iran to represent women, life, and freedom. Thank you to the Board of Public Works, Street Lighting Executive Management, my Division Manager Asad Al-Najjar, my Supervisor Edward Morabian, the Bureau of Street Lighting, and my family. Happy Nowruz.
Good morning, President Ora. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Asad Al-Najjar, representing the Bureau of Street Lighting today, and to celebrate Nowruz New Year. Nowruz, like Commissioner Khorsand said, represents many nations, many countries, and it's the, let's call it the reset of a new year where prosperity and happiness hopefully takes in the year after. It's been celebrated for many thousands of years, and hopefully this year also it brings joy and happiness to the all the community. Maghdi is being recognized today, and she's one of the most talented engineers I ever hired for street lighting. I foresee her probably in few years when I retire sitting in my place. And she's a true civil service representative. She brings qualities. She's great with the constituents. She addressed at the community service division many complaints with a smile. You know, we get all these angry calls and she just takes care of it. And right now she is working very active to get the train systems hopefully running along the transit team with all our colleague bureaus so that we deliver before the Olympics. Maghdi, you're being recognized today for the great work we're doing, and hopefully there is more to come and you'll be presenting many projects here at this board. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I turn it back over to President Garcia for her closing remarks, I do have a little bit more of closing remarks. First, thank you to each of our honorees for all of your contributions, not only to the bureaus, but to the City of Los Angeles. The incredible work that you do, the core services in which Public Works is all about is incredible, and we appreciate it so much. Along with my fellow commissioners of Public Works, we are proud to support and acknowledge our honorees and all Iranian women throughout the department and throughout the city family. And coming up next week, as we do celebrate Nowruz, like years past, I know that Council Member Nithya Rahman will have a Nowruz celebration in Council Chambers on Wednesday, along with other celebrations throughout City Hall. Maghdi said something about Iranian women across the country, across the world, and what it means to be here in the United States. And myself, along with many Iranians, are influenced by strong women. I was influenced and brought up by my grandmother, and so I know firsthand what strength Iranian women have, not just in the household, but as a force of nature in the workplace, having seen that from my grandmother, my mom, my aunt. And so to me, it's just normal that women lead, and men, we do our part, and we follow when we can, and we try not to get in the way. And given the things that are happening outside of the United States, it is wonderful to see us lead, and lead in the way that it matters the most, in providing platforms and ability for women to stand up and share their voices. And in the city of Los Angeles, where we have elected our first woman mayor, it means so much more that we can able to take this month and celebrate different heritages and different women from that international community. So again, thank you to the board for allowing me to have this opportunity and share this moment with our Iranian women employees of the Board of Public Works. And Eid Shama Mubarak.
I like how Commissioner Khorsand made an exit. Well, thank you, everyone. I just want to give the floor to Commissioner Reyes and Commissioner Villegas if they have any final closing remarks, and then I'll do my final remarks as well. Commissioner, Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. It's a big, it's a special celebration today, and we honored 3 women, and I know that there are many more, and I hope to continue this celebration, you know, for the next years to come. It is important that we share our diversity, you know, in the city of Los Angeles, and every one of you is doing your part, and I really commend you all for the work that you've done and the diligence that you've done and the hard work. You're all engineers. That's not an easy field, more so in a men's-dominated world, but you are at it, and I commend you for that, and congratulations. I'm glad that we were able to take a small amount of time to recognize you and recognize your culture, and when we learn more about one another, we're more connected. We're not that different. Congratulations.
I just want to echo what VP Villegas has just said about the importance and the role of women in the future. I believe the future is for women, that we are there, we're stepping up. I want to commend our 3 honorees today and thank you for, being really grateful for all the work that you do. And, you're now leaders in your own right, in your own departments, in your own bureaus, in your families. You are the role models other girls will look up to. You should not be the first. There should always be a pipeline of those girls who are going to be future leaders. And at a time in this global situation that we have, when women's rights are being challenged and are being put to a test, I think it is time for all women to be united in solidarity, be courageous, be upfront out there, and really defend our women's rights, not just for today, but our future generations of women leaders to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes and Vice President Villegas. And first and foremost, I want to thank Commissioner Corson for bringing this to the board. It is such a special recognition that we are able to celebrate the Persian New Year. I really do support the variety and the diversity that we have here. And like Vice President Villegas, we're not all different, and we're very much all the same. And that's the beautiful thing about the city of LA. And you guys came to a city that really acknowledges everybody's culture. And so, your culture is a beautiful culture, to be honest. And I want to say one thing. All 3 women that are here today, you guys are just very beautiful in general, and your beautiful spirit that you have, and the beautiful, you irradiates. I can see it. You're starting from Naz and Ida and Megdi. You guys really do radiate that spirit of what we want to represent in the city, which is being helpful and being also sensitive to the constituents and to the city that we're here to serve. And you guys bring in, not only you bring your beautiful self, but you're also bringing that personality and that culture that it comes with it, that we are here to help others. And you are all very smart. Engineering is not an easy field at all. It's I imagine that when you were going to school, you were probably the only woman in class at times, or maybe 2, if anything, and then Iranian even more, right? So it's just a very special field that you chose to do, and we thank you for it, and we thank you for coming to the city and to bring everything that you bring along with you. I have to say, Naz, you said that you came here on your own. You're a trailblazer. You not only changed the life of yourself and your future to come, but the life of your parents and your siblings, I imagine. So I just want to say congratulations for having that willpower and that determination and saying, I'm going to do something else for the betterment of our family. And it was really nice to see your parents and your husband standing behind you, because as women, we don't do it all by ourselves either. It's a team effort, but as women, we recognize that it is a team effort, and we bring everybody else along with us. And so all 3 of you have really done that. I would just want to say that. I also want to say Ida and Julie to see you guys both up there, two great women. What a great partnership. The watershed program has both of you in it. It's going to succeed no matter what, because Julie, you in your own respective ways, such a great human being, but now partnering with Ida. Ida, congratulations. You're, being thorough and you're making sure that things get done the right way is very important, especially at the level that we're functioning here at the city. So thank you, Ida, for being just thorough and smart and astute on making sure that things happen the right way. So thank you for bringing us your very beautiful self as well. And Megni, you are a role model to many others. Yes, you came to the city, maybe 2010 you said, or a couple years I think is what I read. But you bring that whole aura of you, of that spirit. I know my name is Aura, but I acknowledge it when I see it. And so I just want to say that you bring that to us, to Bureau Street Lighting, and how beautiful that Bureau Street Lighting is able to really recognize that from you. And so I want to make sure that you continue to get supported, and so that you continue to thrive in this field, and that you continue to provide being a role model to those other women that are here, but also back in your country. And that goes for all three of you too, because you guys are making segue here, making history, having the first Iranian on the board. That was really nice to hear that, Commissioner Corson. You guys are making history for your country and for your culture, and cherish it, and know that you're doing a big deal, and teach others, and somehow recognize that back home too as well. And for those that don't have the opportunities that you have, let's figure out a way to create those opportunities, because we also need them out here too. So thank you all, ladies, for being here. It's a really nice recognition to have this during Women History Month, and thank you for that, Commissioner Corson, because there might not be as many Iranians here, but you are definitely strong, the ones that are here. So with that, I say congratulations, celebrate this month, celebrate yourselves, and have a great, rest of your career with us, because we really admire each and one of you. And with that, I just want to say thank you for your time, and we're going to take pictures. We'll take pictures in the back, Corson, or do you want to take them here? In the back? Okay. We'll take them in the back for now, so we'll take about 5 minutes. Those are joining us virtually to take pictures, and then we'll conclude today's ceremony, Women's History Month, celebrating the Persian Heritage Month as well. Thank you, ladies.
Me too. I just want to be thorough. So, what I'm not going to do, other than one instance, I'm not going to say anyone's name. I don't want to put anybody on public record that they didn't do this and that. So, it's not fair.
Tell John I said aye.
We'll do that. I am going to throw you a bone. So.
Nice to see you. Who's on the desk?
And we are once again in record mode.
Thank you very much, and welcome back, everyone. Like I always, we have a very special recognition this morning, and it's always nice to have and celebrate our women from the Board of Public Works. We have concluded the celebration, even though it was really nice, and we could keep going on celebrating. We do have some agenda items to handle today, and so with that, we'll start with item number 1, a request of the Bureau of Engineering and Council District 15. Transfer of jurisdiction and control of public right-of-way, Alameda Corridor, City of Los Angeles, Department of Public Works, Los Angeles Harbor Department. Recommending the board to, 1, approve and forward this report with transmittals to the mayor and the city council, requesting the transfer of jurisdiction and control of certain City of Los Angeles public right-of-way along the Alameda Corridor, identified in the notice of transfer of jurisdiction and control from the Department of Public Works to the Harbor Department as reviewed by the city attorney as to form. And we have Ms. Parra here this morning. Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners, city representatives, and distinguished guests. My name is Janelle Parra. I'm the property manager of the Bureau of Engineering Real Estate Division, and I'm here to provide you with additional information about this board item. On June 22, 1999, the Alameda Corridor Transportation Authority and the city entered into a memorandum of understanding for the design and construction services of the Alameda Corridor located within the city boundaries. The MOU defined an exchange of property rights after construction of the corridor. The ACTA was to convey to the city properties determined not necessary to the Alameda Corridor project, and the city to convey easement rights on city-owned properties where lateral supports for the corridor are located. The ACTA finished construction in 2002, and the action being sought today is in furtherance of the completion of the Alameda Corridor. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this.
Thank you, Ms. Parra. Any questions, colleagues? I have a question. How long is the stretch that we are proposing to delegate?
I don't have the actual mileage, but the properties that we are about to transfer jurisdiction over to the Harbor Department is approximately located north of 105, south of the 405, and east of the 110 freeways. I can provide you with that details after this by email.
Thank you. And for the record, how long are we giving public right-of-way for a certain time or forever? What are we doing?
This is a perpetual easement, basically transferring over the city-owned properties on the right-of-way under Bureau of Engineering jurisdiction to the Alameda Corridor Transportation Authority. And I believe, in my opinion, it's to benefit the city as well, because with that transfers the maintenance and liability of those particular parcels to the proper authority.
To the proper authority, meaning the Harbor Department?
Meaning, well, eventually it'll be transferred over to ACTA. For now, it is being transferred to the Harbor Department because per the Los Angeles Municipal Code, they have the authority to transfer easements to the Alameda Corridor Transportation Authority.
And so that means that I heard you say maintenance. They're going to maintain that for the amount of time that this requires, right?
Yes, and it's a perpetual easement.
Okay, got it. Commissioner Reyes?
Just a clarification, the Alameda Corridor Transportation, is that federal or?
The Alameda Corridor Transportation Authority is a body basically created, and the members are the City of Los Angeles and the City of Long Beach, and specifically for the development of the Alameda Corridor project.
So that's the thing that we have to contend with, is that Harbor is going to transfer that to that sort of like a committee, right?
It's another body. It's another body created, and members of it are the City of Los Angeles and City of Long Beach.
And funding for the maintenance is coming from?
It will be ACTA. ACTA will be the one maintaining the parcels that will be transferred. So basically, it's a corridor that was constructed in 2002, and back then, so basically this is just to iron out the administrative details, the ACTA, whatever is outside of the corridor that they constructed, and they have jurisdiction over those currently, and they don't need it for the project. They'll convey it back to either the City of Los Angeles or the City of Long Beach. And then at the same time, for those city-owned properties that are used for the project but are not within the jurisdiction of ACTA will now be, but within the city jurisdiction will now be transferred over to the Harbor Department so that they can convey the easements to ACTA. I don't know if that helps a little bit, like how this will work.
I think it's going back to the question of President Garcia on the maintenance part, that ACTA will be responsible, and the funding will not have to be requested back to us.
That's what I understand based on the MOU.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. So, Janelle, just to get a little more clarification and piggybacking on something in the Commissioner Reyes question, is there a maintenance plan in place already? Is there an MOU that states this is what you're going to do, this is what we're going to do? Is that already constructed?
Yes, there is an MOU that was entered into by the City of Los Angeles dated June 22nd, 1999, under contract number C98539 that kind of stipulates the design, construction, exchange of properties, and some other conditions in there that talks about what's going to happen once the project is constructed, during construction and once the project is completed.
You said 1999. Did you guys update that, or that's a pretty long time to keep an agreement? I just want to make sure that we're adhering to today's time.
As far as I know and I could tell, there was no additional or amended MOU that happened before this, but I can do some further research and then get back to the board on that one.
Yeah, I think I'm more concerned about what the maintenance plan looks like, because something from 1999 to now has definitely changed. And if we're going to delegate jurisdiction on these certain streets, then we want to make sure that they're going to be taken care of, that they're not going to be depleted or neglected. I understand the Harbor Department has their, they have folks that do this, but I just want to make sure that we have it on paper on who's going to be in charge of what.
That MOU is about 138 pages. Unfortunately, I just don't know which section of it stipulates what happens with the maintenance of these parcels that were eventually going to be conveyed by the Harbor Department to ACTA.
Okay.
But-
And why now? Why until now are we transferring?
Yes, and just an FYI, the Harbor Department actually went to their board about this already in 1998. And if you look at transmittal number 1, which is basically the notice of transfer of jurisdiction and control to the Harbor Department, they have already accepted, they have already signed or executed the certificate of acceptance in November of 2022. I believe this should have transpired a long time ago, but I am not sure about the history, why it didn't happen back in 2002 or even like in 1998 when the Harbor Department went to their board to get authorization to accept what we're about to transfer over to them. But here we are now trying to basically finalize what's needed in order to complete the Alameda Corridor project.
Okay. Will there be somebody from BOE always kind of making sure that we adhere to the MOU?
Yes, in fact, besides the Bureau of Engineering, 2 city attorneys, well, in fact, 3 city attorneys has looked at the MOU and outlined what's needed to be done in order to basically complete the responsibility of the city in terms of that MOU, and this is one of them.
Okay. Was those city attorneys, did they look at this MOU back in 1999 or now, recently?
I think, I'm not sure exactly the date that they looked at it, but just recently when we were, when they're reviewing the board report, they looked at it again. And it is, what we're doing right now is basically in adherence to not only the MOU that was signed in 1999, but also to the city charter and the admin code.
Okay. Ted Jordan, our city attorney, do you concur?
Just based on the documents before you, it does appear that it's my office's real property division would typically be involved in these, and so they have, and they've approved a number of the items here. I have no reason to think that they haven't looked at all aspects of that. For the record, the Alameda ACTA is a joint powers authority. That's what they are. So I have no reason to believe that it wasn't really given a very thorough and proper review, given that they've signed off on the documents that are here.
Understood. Thank you. And just for my comfort level here, is this a permanent transfer of jurisdiction?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So it's a transfer of jurisdiction to the Port of Los Angeles, and once they receive the jurisdiction, they'll eventually transfer them over to ACTA. So they'll convey the easements that we're conveying to the Port of Los Angeles eventually to the Alameda Corridor Transportation Authority.
Is the ACLA, you said, ACLA, is that a city department or is that
It's a joint powers authority. So
Okay.
It's a separate legal entity.
like an organization? What is it, a bid?
It's a governmental entity formed
Okay.
by Los Angeles and the city of Long Beach.
Oh, understood, okay.
So it's entitled to hold property interests and other matters.
Okay, as you can see, I'm having a hard time with this one. I'm not 100% comfortable. I'm gonna try, Vice President Villegas?
I just wanted to give a little bit of context. So the Alameda Corridor, by way of background, it is a joint powers authority, as our city attorney Ted Jordan was mentioning, and it was established for a big need because the ports have so much cargo, and so Alameda Corridor, and the corridor is a thoroughfare, and so it starts over at the ports, and so it goes underground. Otherwise, they used to, and at some points goes above ground on rail, but at some point before this, it was a lot of congestion. So this was done in order to relieve that. And so this joint powers authority between the city, including the harbor, because they're a sister agency to the city, and the city of Long Beach, created this joint powers authority in order for this corridor to be established. And so now that this corridor is already completed and very active, we're giving up this easement. Essentially, the harbor will be able to do the maintenance on it. Is that accurate?
I believe ACTA will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we are, what we probably just need a little bit more clarification on is just the amount of land, right, that we, essentially would be covering. Because the Alameda Corridor goes through Alameda, and there's other cities that it covers as well. Los Angeles being the biggest, but just so that you know, yeah.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. That really helps, the context and the background really helps on understanding why we are here today. Any other questions, colleagues? Okay, yeah, Vice
I
President.
just have one more question. I have one question because I didn't ask a question before. In terms of just the ongoing maintenance, is there a CPI that's attached to it? Do you know? I didn't see it on here. And is that common? Like a cost of live, or like just a, what do you call it?
Some kind of index.
An index, yeah.
I'm not really sure if there is, and I
Okay.
can double check and get back to the board on that one. I apologize.
Okay.
Okay, colleagues. Is there a motion on the table? I move. Thank you, Commissioner Reyes.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Vice President Villegas to move item number 1 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President,
Aye.
and Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand?
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes?
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 1 is approved.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, Ms. Parra. Please send me that info, though. I do want to see the stretch or even a diagram of what the streets we're talking about. Thank you. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 2. This is a contract acceptance digester gas utilization project in Council District 11. Request by Bureau of Contract Administration, Bureau of Engineering, and the Bureau of Sanitation, recommending the board to 1, accept the design-build phase of this contract, 2, assess Constellation New Energy, Inc. with a liquidated damages penalty in the amount of $43,446.10 for noncompliance of local partner apprentice hiring requirements as discussed in this report. 3, instruct the Director of Office of Accounting to disencumber the disputed funds in the amount of $43,346.10 from the project, and 4, instruct the Director of Office of Accounting to release the remaining $207,031.90 from the project fund to Constellation New Energy, Inc., as discussed in this report. And this morning, we have Mr. Ian Monte presenting on behalf of the Bureau of Contract Administration. Welcome, Ian.
Good morning, Commissioners and Bureau representatives. My name is Ian Monte, representing the Bureau of Contract Administration's Office of Contract Compliance, where I will take a liberty right now and refer to them as OCC because I'm going to say that a few times in my report. So we are here to provide, again, the acceptance report for the Digester Gas Utilization Project, affectionately known as DGUP. This is probably going to be a few acronyms in this particular report, and I just want to kind of identify them up front so that when I keep saying them, people won't question what I'm talking about. So what I'd like to do, because again, we are here to ultimately discuss the Bureau's recommendation of the liquidated damages penalty for the PLA's targeted hiring non-compliance with the local apprentice mandate. I do want to cover some of the more technical items of the report first. So if you will, this contract was executed by the board on January 21st, 2014 in the amount of $127,302, and the construction under contract number C-123575 was completed on June 5th, 2019 by Constellation New Energy, Inc., and I'll refer to them throughout the presentation as Constellation. I want to read just a little bit of the scope of the project. The DGUP is a design, build, operate project, and the scope of the project includes the reuse of the existing Hyperion Treatment Plant Energy Recovery Building to house a 25 megawatt combined cycle power system to provide the near-term steam and electricity requirements of the Hyperion Treatment Plant. What that essentially means is this is a power plant, and this is what Constellation constructed. The project was awarded again for the $127,302 with a contingency of $6,365,000, giving a total authorized budget for the project of $133,667,000. The board did approve an additional $29,794,834.48 in additional contingencies, giving a revised authorized budget of $163,461,834.48. There were 13 change orders that were issued throughout the project's life, and that increased the contract amount by $36,158,834.48, bringing the total cost of the project to $163,460,834.48, and they spared all of $1,000 even. I thought that was pretty cool. The project was completed 28.4% above the awarded amount, but within its authorized budget, again, within that $1,000. Final corrections were completed on June 5th, 2019, and a request to release retention in the amount of $6,054,671.18 was processed for release, and disputed funds of the $250,378 was withheld pending action by the board, which obviously brings us to the liquidated damages penalty that we'll discuss momentarily. I do want to talk about the Minority Business Enterprise, otherwise known as MBE, the Women Business Enterprise, otherwise known as WBE, and the Other Business Enterprise, or OBE, and the participation levels of the project. The contract was awarded with the bidder's pledge of 1.18% MBE, 3.14% WBE, and 3.73% OBE. The actual participation levels achieved on the project were 3.91% MBE, 17.51% WBE, and 7.85% OBE. So with that being said, I want to now get into the targeted hiring on the project and unfortunately, the project's inability to maintain compliance with the local apprentice mandate. This isn't taken very lightly because, again, I know that we're talking about potentially holding funds, and I know there are representatives from the prime contractor constellation in the room, and I want to be respectful in terms of the way that I present this information. The first thing I really want to do is talk about just what I'm going to talk about is really going to summarize the contractor's performance solely with the targeted hiring component of the Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement, and I'll refer to that as the PLA, and the Public Works Infrastructure Stabilization Policy, which I'll also refer to as the policy. If you look on page 4 of the board report, I'm not going to read all of the different figures there, but in this particular diagram, there is the local apprentice achievements in terms of the hours that were performed on the project. And the local apprentice hours that were performed on this project were 54,912.5 hours, which equates to 47% of the apprentice hours being performed by local workers, where the mandate is at least 50. So the project fell 3% short there. The total number of apprentice hours that should have been worked by local apprentices, 58,124.75, where it brings us to the difference of the shortfall being 3,212.25 hours, and this number is going to be important a little bit later because it speaks to how we calculated the liquidated damages. So the city, we held a pre-construction conference with Constellation on April 30th, 2015. And the reason that's important is because within that pre-construction meeting, we go through our pre-construction conference checklist where we talk about, from a labor compliance standpoint, all of the requirements that need to be performed and accomplished by the prime contractor and its subs of any tier. But we also walk through the PLA's targeted hiring requirements as well. So everyone is very much on board before the project ever has a shovel go into the ground of what is required and what's expected. Sean Kinney, who was representing Constellation as the site manager, he did sign and initial that pre-construction checklist that OCC maintains, and that memorializes the understanding and agreed upon compliance. And just for those that aren't aware, in that meeting, the checklist is maybe about 4 pages long, and each page has a place at the bottom for the signer to initial, and they have the opportunity to ask questions and get clarity on what is on the page. And so I want to point that out because, again, when we're talking about the non-compliance with the project labor agreement in the local apprentice category, it speaks to the fact that we did inform Constellation at the very beginning of what was required. I do want to highlight a couple of things from the policy. The policy's definition of a jobs coordinator is the prime contractor's designated person, agent, or agency that will facilitate the local hire referral process with the contractor, which is the prime contractor, subcontractor, and employers, otherwise known as the CSEs. I may mention that once or twice. The unions and other referral organizations. And this is important because when you are talking about working through a project labor agreement project, the job coordinator's role is very vital because it helps identify and bring local workers to the project, whether it's the request from the unions or if the unions are unable to provide those local workers, the ability to go out into the community wherever you may go to bring workers to the project, if not sponsor them into apprenticeship programs. I also want to bring light to policy section 6, which lays out the responsibilities of the Bureau, the CSEs, the unions, and the jobs coordinators. And it also speaks to the jobs coordinators' qualifications and responsibilities. So there are 4 sections, and I'm just going to briefly talk about them that are in the policy. Subsection 6.2 Part C, it says that the prime contractor has to recommend a jobs coordinator, and upon approval, notify all subcontractors of the jobs coordinator. Now, the reason that this is important is because Constellation chose to self-perform that responsibility rather than hiring a third-party jobs coordinator. We don't require the hiring of a third-party jobs coordinator, but we do ensure that someone is performing that work, and Constellation elected to do that on their own. Subsection 6.2 Part F speaks to the craft request form, which is an attachment of the project labor agreement. And this is how craft requests and the requests for local workers from the unions will occur. This is the only way that it can occur. It can't occur any other way, informal or otherwise. The 6.2 Part H speaks to the fact that the unions have 48 hours to provide local workers upon that request using the form. And if they are unable to do that, the contractor or the jobs coordinator is free to then go to any source and bring local workers to the project. And finally, 6.2 Part I just speaks to maintaining proof of the transmittal of the craft request form, because that shows proof that you actually asked for the workers, whether you got them or not. 6.4 of that same policy, again, it just outlines the 9 qualifications and the 8 responsibilities of the jobs coordinators, and I won't get into all 17 of those, but again, it's important to state that Constellation assumed the responsibility of these because they decided to self-perform the role of the jobs coordinator. So very briefly, because we have a very detailed board report that I'm not going to speak to every page and bullet that's in it, the project basically had 2 phases. The initial phase was from, in terms of the PLA compliance. May 2015 to April 2016, the project lost and then regained full PLA compliance. And in this particular instance, we had, there were 5 occasions that we interacted with them. We had meetings multiple times, but in 2 of those meetings, we specifically asked Constellation about hiring a jobs coordinator, because in that time frame, they did not have compliance at all. I misspoke earlier because I said that they maintained compliance. They did not get into compliance until April of 2016, where they did achieve full PLA compliance, and they had achieved 51% of the local apprentice. However, they lost that compliance in August of 2016, so ultimately they were in compliance, full compliance for the PLA for 5 months. So from August 2016 until essentially the end of the project, which was in 2019, but certainly through the major construction phase, which in terms of our monitoring ended in 2017, in early 2017 rather, we had 3 meetings with Constellation and also assessed them 4 separate liquidated damages letters. And in these letters, we let them know essentially how far the cliff was in terms of the liquidated damages. And one of the letters actually was as high as $1.1 million. However, Constellation did show improvement, and ultimately Constellation got to 46% compliance, which again was great. One thing we do want to point out is it was a meeting on November 21st, and in that meeting, we had asked Constellation to provide us a recovery plan where we asked them to tell us how you are going to regain full PLA compliance with targeted hiring. And they provided the plan, but one of the things that they mentioned to us was, again, we have been asking the unions for workers, upon which we said, okay, that's fine, but we need you to provide these craft request forms that I mentioned. We had asked for those many different times, and unfortunately, Constellation was unable to provide them. We also had a conversation as it relates to their recovery plan where they said they were going to release the non-local apprentices that were on the project, but maintain the local apprentices that were on the project, which, again, we thought that may bring that into compliance. Well, ultimately, that didn't happen. In fact, it was the opposite. Constellation released the local apprentices, but kept the non-local apprentices, and one of the reasons that they stated they did that is because the crews that they had were very much familiar with the work, and there was less training that needed to be involved. And again, that was their choice to do that. But again, when we really pressed them about why would you let the locals go before the non-locals, understanding that you have to make the PLA targeted hiring, they really didn't have a definitive answer. And again, I don't want to take, any type of liberties to Constellation, but again, it wasn't really an acceptable answer because we wanted them to understand what was important. And again, this is really the work that the Bureau does. When we are working on these projects and trying to get PLA compliance, and we're working through the policy, and we're reminding the contractors, and Parista thought that we have to submit liquidated damage warning letters because we don't want to send those. We want everything to be in compliance, but sometimes it's not, and we have to let the contractor know how far the cliff does indeed go down. But you're talking about a project where the OCC and the analyst is to my left. His name is Dennis Lamb, and he does a fantastic job. We spent 120 staff hours on this project, and it's not just monitoring certified payrolls, but it's consistently engaging with the contractor. In this time, you're talking about 8 meetings. You're talking about 10 correspondence, which represents transmittal items numbers 3 through 12 on this particular board report. You're also talking about 103 emails that were sent. Not to mention just the monitoring of the workforce efforts, looking at on a weekly basis who's out there. Are they local? Are they not? And again, interacting with the contractor, asking those questions. And for us, we're fine with the try, but again, you have to show evidence of the try. And when we're requesting these craft request forms to see exactly what it is that you've done in terms of interacting with the unions to request workers, and we're unable to receive them, it just kind of begs the question of, hey, what's really happening here? In addition, and I really didn't speak to this much, but the jobs coordinator responsible, I did speak to a little bit actually, but the jobs coordinator's responsibility is beyond just the craft request forms, because again, after that 48 window occurs, what else are you going to do? And we didn't receive any evidence that Constellation went into the community or went to a work source center or some faith-based organization to find additional local workers. So ultimately, we have this penalty recommendation. And again, we don't take these things light because this is real money. And we know that Constellation is trying to get all of its money like any business would when they perform a job. So again, we don't take these things lightly. So what we did is we had a 3-pronged factor of what we looked at as it relates to should we assess liquidated damages in this recommendation, and if so, to what extent they would be. So the first thing we looked at, did Constellation willfully violate the PLA? And the answer to that is no, they didn't. And the evidence that we have to support that is because at some point the project did hit full compliance. And it was in full compliance from April 2016 to August 2016, what lets us know that Constellation did make some effort to comply and obtain local premises. The next thing we asked was, does Constellation have any history demonstrated to us, or is there evidence elsewhere that shows that what happened is a practice pattern of conduct? And the answer to that is no. Constellation admitted that this was their first major construction project with the City of Los Angeles and its first project that was covered under the Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement. So again, there was nothing to suggest that this was a habit of theirs. And then finally, what we looked at was, again, did they hire that third-party jobs coordinator? Because again, with the fact that they had never worked under the PLA before, the question was, do they really understand what they're getting into by saying we're going to self-perform rather than hire a third party to assist us? And unfortunately, they didn't do that. And so you're talking about, I won't go all to that, I've said that enough, but ultimately, just Constellation wasn't able to perform these different duties that the job coordinator says that it has. Now, here's the good news, because it can't all be bad in terms of non-compliance, and it's not. Constellation exceeded the 30% local hire goal by 1,946.32 hours. And the reason that this is good news is because if you look at the average journey level wage, which is $77.05 per hour, Constellation actually reinvested an additional $149,963.96 back into the community, which again is great. And I want to acknowledge that they did that. So again, given the totality of the information that I've provided, what the Bureau did was we looked at that shortfall of hours, that 3,212.25, and we multiplied it by the average apprentice wage, because this was about local apprentice and not journey level. And that wage is $44.98, and that equated to $144,487.01. And then from there, because looking at a three-prong process, there was only one prong that we felt that they, did not show just that good faith effort completely. We calculated it. We calculated that at 30% of that $144,487.01 number, and that came to $43,346, which again is our recommended liquidated damages penalty amount. So just a couple more technical things, and I will be done with this presentation. The Office of Contract Compliance Labor Compliance section has reviewed its files, and it confirms there's no labor compliance issues on the project. There are also no unresolved property owners' complaints in connection with the project. The contractor performance evaluation reports were submitted to the Bureau, and they are as required in compliance with Article 13, Chapter 1, Division 10 of the Los Angeles Administrative Code. And except as noted, the Inspector of Public Works, John L. Reamer Jr., in accordance with the generally accepted quality assurance control procedures, construction inspection methods and practices, including such special inspections that were deemed necessary and prudent, hereby attest that this project has been constructed in accordance with the plan specifications, change orders, and contract provisions. I know that my presentation was lengthy, and I appreciate everyone's patience, and I am available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Monte. Appreciate your presentation. It was very thorough and with a lot of details. I also know that we have Mr. Keeney, is that your name, sir, from the Constellation New Energy?
I believe that's David Stewart.
Oh, David Stewart, I'm sorry. Mr. Stewart, do you want to say a few words, or?
Sure. First thing, Ian, nice report out, thank you. First thing, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity to be in front of the board to follow up with you with any questions that you may have. We agree with what Ian has presented here today in the joint report, and really came out to see if the board had any questions or anything we could answer.
Okay, thank you.
Associated with the project.
Any questions, colleagues? I see Vice President Villegas.
Yeah, thank you. I have some questions.
Okay.
Thank you for that report. The fee that or the amount that we're withholding is a little over 43,000?
Say it again?
The amount that we're withholding from Constellation is a little over 43,000?
That's the amount that we're recommending to ultimately withhold. Right now, the amount that we're withholding as disputed funds is $250,000.
Okay.
Yes.
And can Constellation provide a little bit more context in terms of the reason why, this wasn't fulfilled?
Sure, I'll take that.
Because obviously we have a lot of attachments here, and at one point you were, and something must have happened to be able to, just to get to that 48 or just shy of the 50% local hire.
Sure. Well, first, let me introduce myself. Dave Stewart. I was involved with the original part of the project, been with Constellation for 40 years, and recently just moved into the plant manager role, overseeing Hyperion. So I've got a lot of experience with Hyperion. This was our first construction project. I think as Ian has highlighted, it was the first one with the city, didn't understand the importance of the project coordinator, and didn't understand that the resources would be that much of a challenge. And we missed it, and we identified that. Going forward, realizing the importance of a project coordinator and being able to help you support as you missed some of these targets is really what it comes down to. So it was, we made the phone calls out and anticipated that they'd be filled, and when they weren't, it was something that we missed
Okay.
around the
All
apprentice.
right.
Local
And
apprentice.
so just by seeing the attachments here, it was something that wasn't fulfilled since, or that you missed since 2016?
Sorry again.
It was something that you missed or that you didn't fulfill since 2016?
And I guess the highlight is that it was a moving target. So there was a lot of work that came in at the very end of the project, so some of the numbers had escalated, and we anticipated that we would hit the number. And then as work got escalated at the end of the project, it was a firm price project with a COD date, and there was emergent issues that came. That was where some of the accelerated man hours came in, which then changed the equation.
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you for that. And then just wanted to ask if you could just give a little bit more clarification. You're a national company, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Constellation Energy, previously known as Exelon, we split. We have the O&M agreement, which was part of this project, so we've been operating the facility since 2017. I think it's 1-1 COD. So we were part of the build, and now we're part of the operate. So based out of Baltimore, and Ty can correct me if I miss anything here, based out of Baltimore, and is a generation company.
Okay, and you have a satellite office here in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Okay.
We are located at the DGUP facility.
You're located?
At the Hyperion wastewater treatment facility.
Okay.
That's where we operate.
All right, so, seeing that we had the accident in 2021, have you helped, aside from this contract that we're dealing with today, have you helped with any repairs, electrical repairs?
That's a separate project.
Okay.
So DigUp is truly just the.
Just the power energy
Just
force.
the power energy
Got it.
facility. So we have sort of a box around it, what we do.
Got
So
it.
we take the gas, convert it to electricity and also steam for the facility. So I have an interface with the Bureau of Sanitation.
Okay, okay. All right, and this was your first contract? Was it your first contract with the city of Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, that's correct.
Okay. Have you had others subsequently?
Sorry.
Have you had other?
No, not with the city, other
Okay.
than the existing O&M agreement.
Okay,
Just a little more about Constellation. It is, we've built quite a few facilities. We have a solar facility north at Antelope Valley, which we constructed, and we also have large generation facilities across the United States.
okay. All right, thank you.
I don't see any other questions. I thank you for taking responsibility on that, Mr. Stewart. I appreciate that. Oh, sorry, Commissioner, I didn't see your light on. Let me just kind of finish up here. I just want to say thank you for taking responsibility and, understanding. Now I understand more where you guys are coming from. That makes it understandable where you landed on during that time. And since then, I imagine now you've pretty much know the importance of this and how important we take this. And you were really just shy away like 3%, so it makes it really hard for us to, go through this because we know that you did a full effort, but, obviously 50% or above is what we're always looking for. Let me take it back to Commissioner Reyes, and then I probably have another question for you.
Sure.
Thank you, President Garcia. I think for me, this is an issue of fairness and accountability. The PLA is an important section of this contract. It is something that is a priority of Mayor Bass right now in terms of workforce development. Really looking at local hiring, and that project coordinator that has been mentioned should not be taken lightly. PLAs are put in place because it is a requirement for that contract. PLAs are put in place because it will benefit the city. I do applaud you for your attempts to almost make it, right, in compliance. I do applaud the staff, though, for their many multiple interventions and meetings and their attempts to really rectify the situation and make you understand, as the contractor for the project, that this is important. This is something that we do not take lightly. And so even though this is your first contract, those attempts for the meetings, the communications, should have been taken at heart from the very beginning. But the back and forth, as I understand from the presentation today, is really took a lot of time from our staff because they are realizing that there is something that's missing here. There is something that has to be met. And that important thing cannot be ignored because we are showing to the rest of the world that we have the contract, especially with those PLA, that the PLA is there for a specific reason. For this particular situation, I think our staff deliberation and they're working with you should be commended. And I do appreciate you understanding where the city is coming from in terms of where we are now. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. I think I just accept that you took, responsibility and you understand the rules now moving forward and just kind of how important this is now in today's time, right? I don't have any other questions. I do want to instruct Ian and team to disencumber the rest of the funds to your company ASAP. It's been already years that we have been upholding this amount, and so it is a large amount, 200, and it's going to be 207, the 43,000 deducted from the 207. And so I will ask Ian to follow through and make sure that that gets done ASAP to give him back the money. Other than that, anything else you guys want to share? No? Okay.
No. Thank you for the
Anything on
opportunity.
our end?
I appreciate your being here, and thank you for doing business with us. And I'm glad you know the process now, even though you're a national company, and you do have presence here in Los Angeles. Just to appreciate your follow-through with our staff and being at our meeting. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. All right, colleagues, is there a motion on the table to move item number 2 forward and forthwith? I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. TJ Knight, there's a first by me and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move forward, item number 2, forward and forthwith. Sorry.
Very good. And we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 2 passes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ian and team, and thank you to Mr. Stewart, right? Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 3. This is a request from the Bureau of Contract Administration and the Bureau of Engineering in Council District 14. Project Labor Agreement, Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station Roof Replacement and Panel Installation, recommending the board to 1, add the Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement to this project. Ian?
Good morning again, Commissioners. So the Bureau of Contract Administration and the Bureau of Engineering, we are requesting that the Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station, otherwise known as CLARTS, because I'm going to use that acronym multiple times, the roof replacement and panel installation project received the Public Works Project Labor Agreement. This project, the board report says that it has been advertised. However, there was a delay in advertisement, so we're actually in front of that process. So the board report should say will advertise the Clark's Roof and Replacement Installation Project. The project is located at the Clark's location at 2201 East Washington Boulevard, and this is located within Council District 14. The city engineer's estimate is $6,549,998. Just a little bit about the scope of work. The Clark's Roof Replacement and Panel Installation Project will consist of the following: a full roof replacement of the main transfer station building and the addition of solar panels. They will build a new second floor walkway and conference room, and they'll make modifications to the location's heating and air conditioning systems, as long as electrical and fire suppression systems. So we always say that the PLA provides numerous benefits to the city, which is why we're requesting to add it to a project. And those benefits include helping to ensure that quality work is done without costly corrections. It also will help provide work that is safely done by providing access to skilled workers with a commitment to training, and then also will help facilitate orderly settlements of labor disputes and grievances without work stoppages or lockouts. We have calculated that for every $1 million, the PLA creates 13 jobs. So based on that math, the Clark's Roof and Replacement Panel Installation Project could potentially generate about 85 jobs. And so being that the Bureau of Contract Administration serves as the designated administrative agency for the project labor agreement and monitors all projects covered underneath it, this is just one of those things that we would love to do because it would just very much add to the betterment of the city and the folks that live in it. And thus, we are requesting to add the PLA to this project. That concludes my report, and I am available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Monte, on that, on your report again. Any questions, colleagues? Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. Thanks for this. The replacement project, is this solar?
It's part solar, yes.
Okay. Who's the vendor?
I am unsure because the project has not gone out to bid yet, so I'm not sure who the vendor is.
Okay. All right. But you're just requesting for this project to have PLA?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At a cost of $1 million?
At a cost of...
6.5 million.
6.5.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I don't have
thank
any
you.
more questions.
I don't see any other questions. Commissioner Reyes, okay. I don't see any other questions. Ian, with the 6.5, how many jobs will that generate?
85, approximately.
That's really good.
That's very good.
Yeah, very good. Okay, I don't have any issues with this problem. This is a good item here. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 3 forward and forthwith? VP Villegas, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I just have one more question.
Absolutely.
In terms of process, why did it come through you? Because usually we come, like, how come it didn't come when we were already? I'm just a little.
No worries, no worries.
I am a little confused, I guess. When we put out something like this, it's usually stated in there already in the RFP.
So what happens is, and I'm gonna, for the interest of just clarity.
Or is that not under your purview? I'm just wondering.
Well, not all of it, but the process involves me. So I'm gonna back up to when we approved the new 10-year PLA agreement. And attachment E, there were 172 projects that we were submitting along with the PLA that would automatically be covered, so we wouldn't have to come before the board to request each project's individual inclusion to the PLA. However, there are projects that come online or where that may not have been in the pipeline at that time that show up, and we want to add the PLA to them. What happens is the Bureau of Engineering will reach out to me, or sanitation will reach out to me and say, hey, we have a project, but it is not on the list of projects that's already covered. We call it the PIPS list. So there would be 172 projects that would be on the PIPS list. BOE will review that list when they have a project that they're looking to advertise, and if they don't see it, they will reach out to us and ask, do we want to add the PLA to it? We'll ask a couple of questions, and generally, we will want to add the PLA, and when that happens, we will come before the board and request the addition to the PLA. Sometimes we're able to request the addition to the PLA before it goes to bid, and it's included in the bid documents. Sometimes we have to come before the board after it's gone to bid, and then they add the PLA as addendum. And so that's just how it works. And this project, again, we thought that it was going to already be advertised by the time it came to board, but because it's been delayed, it's not. So it will be a part of the bid documents upon your approval to add the PLA to the project. Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other lights on. Colleagues, is there a motion on the table to move item number 3 forward and forthwith?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. TJ Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Commissioner Corson to move item number 3 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item passes.
All right, Ian, 2 for 2.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Monte. Moving forward to item number 4, this is a request from the Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Contract Administration in Council District 9. Contract Amendment Number 1, Populous, Inc., Los Angeles Convention Center Expansion and Renovation Project, recommending the board to, 1, approve and forward this report with transmittals to the mayor and city council requesting the following. A, approve Amendment Number 1 to the contract between the City of Los Angeles and Populous, Inc., to extend the contract term 7 years from March 21st, 2023 to March 20, 2030, with no change in contract amount. B, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute Amendment Number 1, and 2, request the city clerk to attest and certify the 5 original copies amended Number 1. And this morning we have Ms. Deborah Weintraub here. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you, President and Commissioners. So I'm here to request the board extend a contract that was put in place in 2016. A little bit of history. Back in 2014, we started an extensive competitive selection process to choose a design team to work with us on the convention center expansion. In that process, we requested qualifications from our on-call architects list. We got 11 proposals. We interviewed, and we shortlisted to 3 teams, which is what we had told the design community we would do. We then paid those 3 teams to produce design options and budgets, and those were shared publicly and also with decision makers here at City Hall. Because the team that was the selected team had a principal that didn't have convention center experience, as we had noted in our RFQ, we had the right to say if you had a sub-consultant who had that experience, then we would proceed to contract with that sub-consultant as the prime. Council then voted to authorize the Board of Public Works to do a sole source contract with the sub-consultant as the prime. That was Populous. Populous is an international firm that specializes in convention centers. That was in 2016. The board approved a sole source contract with Populous for about $33 million. The first step of their contract back in 2016 was to do a conceptual design refinement in order to meet the request of City Council to look at 2 alternatives for project delivery. One alternative would be a public-private partnership with AEG, and the other alternative would be a city-led project. Populous, we gave a notice to proceed to Populous for $1.7 million. They completed that conceptual design refinement work. We provided it to really the Chief Legislative Analyst's office, who has been the lead along with the City Administrative Officer's office. There then was a lengthy process of negotiation that followed with AEG to look at a public-private partnership. And when the pandemic hit, the whole effort kind of was put on hiatus. About 6 weeks ago, I heard from the CLA's office that they anticipated going back to council with a report, again, reviewing the P3 negotiations and the options for a city-led project. And our contract with Populous, which had gone through an extensive competitive selection process, was about to expire. So with the concurrence of the CLA and the CAO's office, I'm back here just to ask for an extension of time, the same amount of time that the original contract had, no change in contract amount. It is understood that if the project is a P3 agreement, we will not be contracting the city with Populous. It would be our P3 partner would contract for the design services. So we're preserving this contract if the city, i.e. the Bureau of Engineering, takes the lead as the project manager. This would be a very large project. It would require really a whole division dedicated to delivering this project. It's also, in working with Populous, we acknowledge to them that if we do the project internally, we would have to renegotiate their fee. I'm sure that some of the subconsultants that they had in their original contract have gone other ways and may not be interested in doing the work. And there may be some negotiation on fee amounts, because 7 years is a long time to try to hold a fee amount. So in summary, I'm here just asking the board to extend the contract with an amendment for 7 years, with the anticipation that when we get direction from City Council and Mayor, we may be back to present another amendment if the Bureau of Engineering remains the lead for the project. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Weintraub, for your report. It's nice to see you here. I don't think we've seen you present for a while, so I'm glad to have you back. Colleagues, any questions on this item? Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. I don't have any questions, just wanted to make note. This was approved in 2016 as you mentioned. Thank you for that clarification. And just Populous is a company that's based out of California in Kansas City, Missouri, just for the record and for the edification of the public who's listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Any other questions, concerns? Commissioner Reyes?
Deborah, how long do you think the negotiation will take for the fees?
So if we're authorized to proceed, I'd say 4 to 6 months to negotiate the fees, because they're going to have to do an outreach effort to put together their subconsultants again.
Okay, so, and then after that, it will have to come back to us, or will it go to City Council?
We will bring it back here to the Board of Public Works.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Deborah, was there already a design for this?
So there is a conceptual design for
Okay.
it that was done in 2016, and that was the basis for the negotiation with AEG.
Okay.
And a model. There were conceptual designs, a model, and some preliminary pricing.
Okay. Have the conversations started again, or it's right now still, like you said, in hiatus?
It's still in hiatus. The conversations will start again after a report is brought back to City Council, and I don't know exactly when that will be. I anticipate sometime in the next month or two it will be in front of Council. And I don't know what the direction is that Council will take.
Got it. Is AEG still the other party?
If it's a P3 agreement, my understanding, again, I'm not intimately involved with those negotiations. My understanding is it's still AEG.
Okay, understood. Okay, so we're just requesting time, right? Okay.
Yes, I'm just requesting time.
All right, any objections, colleagues? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table to approve item number 4?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. TJ Knight, there's a first by Vice President Villegas and a second by Commissioner Corson to move item number 4 forward and forthwith.
Very good. And we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you very
Weintraub.
much. Very nice
Again,
to
nice
see
seeing
you
you
all.
here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you come back soon again.
Do it again, yes.
All right, colleagues, item number 5 is continued to March 22nd, 2023. And with that, I don't see any objections on that. It gives us more time to figure that situation out, but looking forward to hearing it on the 22nd. All right, moving on to item number 6. This is in all council districts, an AFE for Archelian Enterprises, DBA Athens Services, Bureau of Sanitation, and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $4 million to encumber funds to process a minimum of 200 tons per day of green waste and additional commingled organic waste from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. And Mr. Rosca is here for this item this afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, President Garcia, Commissioners Villegas, Corzine, and Reyes, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. My name is James Rosca, Acting Environmental Engineer from LA Sanitation and Environment. Today, LA San is requesting the approval for the authority for expenditure with Aracelian Enterprises for the receipt, processing, and composting of green waste and organic waste from the city's curbside collection program. For some background on our organics program, in order to meet our city's zero waste goals of 90% diversion by 2025, the state Senate Bill 1383 legislation mandating the diversion of organic waste from the landfill, and our citywide goal set by the mayor to have curbside residential food waste collection to all customers. Sanitation was working on long-term contracts to get the full food waste collection program up and ready for all of our single-family customers that are serviced by sanitation. So during the time of us negotiating the long-term contracts, we utilized letters of agreement, one such being the one that's presented today with Aracelian Enterprises to be able to handle the small amount of residents that were already having food waste collection through our curbside pilot programs. Last summer, in July of 2022, we expanded our pilot from 18,000 original households up to 40,000 households throughout the city. And so we entered this letter of agreement with Athens to help support the expansion of those additional households. So Athens has provided us their Crown MRF up in the valley, so that provided us an additional transport and processing facility up in the valley, where historically we were transferring all of our material from the central LA recycling transfer station, Clark's, here in downtown. So this letter of agreement helped us to support the expansion of the additional households, as well as to give us another transfer site up in the valley, as opposed to our singular site here in downtown. During the course of the LOA, we were able to actually execute and negotiate the full-term contract. Those contracts were brought to the board back in November of 2022 and then fully executed by council and the city by the city clerk in January. So although the term of this letter of agreement was originally for the full fiscal year, the term of service has actually already ended. So we're basically just getting the authority to cover the 7 months of service they provided under the letter of agreement. And then Aracelian Enterprises, doing business as Athens Services, is now serving us long-term through the long-term executed contracts. So the $4 million just to basically cover the organic waste they were already processing for us over the term of those 6.5 months while we were waiting to negotiate and execute the long-term contracts. And so with that, I will answer any questions that you may have on this authority for expenditure.
Thank you, Mr. Rosca. So is that why it's an AFE versus a board report? Because it's basically just paying for that like intermediate time?
Exactly. So yes, it's just an AFE and a letter of agreement. So there's no board report attached to the document.
Okay, okay. Any other questions? Any questions, colleagues? Commissioner Corson?
Thank you. In the packet, I think it's the second or third page, it was for $6.5 million, and now it's $4 million. So we initially approved the $6.5 million, but because it's 7 months, or whatever the number of months is, it's a smaller amount.
Yes, that's correct. So when we were originally preparing the documents, and you'll see on the letter of agreement itself, it was $6.5 million. Because the term didn't extend through the full fiscal year, we then decreased it to $4 million on the authority for expenditure.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. This is pretty self-explanatory on this. Do you foresee coming back for more, or I think this is it, right?
There is going to be 2 additional AFEs with Recology. They're another vendor that was providing us these kind of interim processes and services while we were negotiating the full-term contracts. I believe we're waiting for final ED3 approval by the mayor's office, and then we'll return. So that'll be a similar item, just with a different vendor.
Okay, understood. Thank you. All right, I don't see any other questions on the table. Are there any objections? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 6 forward and forthwith?
So move.
Thank you, VP Villegas. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move item number 6 forward and forthwith.
Very good. And we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. Item number 6 passes.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Rosca, and have a good rest of the weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Moving on to item number 7, this is an oral report, status update on major upcoming street improvement projects, Bureau of Street Services, and this afternoon, we have Mr. Gopal. Mr. Gopal, you've been enjoying all these celebrations, you've been part of all, we should just start including you here.
I sure have. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, Commissioner Corson, and Commissioner Reyes, and Executive Officer TJ Knight. This is from Mr. Keith Mose, our Executive Director and General Manager of the Bureau of Street Services. This information is being provided to keep the public informed on the upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays. And for any additional information or concerns, you can contact our coordinating section. At this time, there are no major street projects scheduled for the Metro or Valley regions during the week of March 19th through March 25th. However, we will provide an update on our 22-23 pavement preservation program. During the week of March 19th through March 25th, the Valley and the Metro region will complete 12 projects for a total of 10.770 lane miles. The press releases were distributed and notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the council offices to assist with the outreach to the stakeholders. We have coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This information is also available on the Streets LA website. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, colleagues? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Have a good weekend. We appreciate you here. And keep joining us. You'll be part of all these celebrations. Thank you. All right, colleagues, moving on to our last item. This is item number 8, Office of Forest Management Update. Office of Forest Management by our Chief Forest Officer, Rachel Malloridge.
Okay, I think I may have set up the PowerPoint successfully. Good morning, or good afternoon, I guess. Thank you so much for having me, President Garcia and Commissioners. I am Rachel Malloridge, your City Forest Officer, and here to provide an oral report on the work of our office. I will say this is my first time doing it in person. So my first oral report to the board was during the pandemic, and so I'm really excited to have the chance to do it here in person for you all. So just a reminder of some of our key projects. Let's hope this is... There we go. All right, perfect. Thank you, TJ. So first, the areas of focus for my office currently is, again, looking at the investments in the areas of planting, maintenance, and preservation and community engagement, specifically focusing on tree preservation policy and processes within the cities. So looking at our interdepartmental work on improving our tree preservation processes, looking at community engagement, and again, urban tree canopy equity. A bit of a deeper dive on what our office is working on currently. Right now we have a couple really exciting projects. One is with NASA JPL Develop program. LA Sanitation's biodiversity team had applied for a project for that 10-week program that helps the city use additional GIS data and analyses to aid in some of our efforts. And we were luckily the recipient of that program. The biodiversity team had hoped that they'd help with a specific project, but they ended up selecting one of the projects that was mentioned within their document related to trees and urban heat. And so that project team will be concluding at the end of this month and have been helping us evaluate the impacts of one of the tree planting projects done by LA Sanitation's tree planting team along the Vermont corridor between Martin Luther King Boulevard and the 105 freeway. So they're helping us look at, from the time those trees were planted to now, has there been an impact on heat? And it's really exciting to have some of that additional data for our communities to be able to understand what impact our tree planting programs have on their neighborhoods. The second, more time-sensitive project we're working on is the Tree Guarantee Fee Study. The Tree Guarantee Program began being implemented by the city in October of 2018, and so last year in the budget cycle, we successfully got funding to update those fees through a fee study, and so we are, have just kicked off, sending a notice to proceed to the consultant for that project, and we'll be hoping to have a new fee to bring to the board and council for review by the end of this fiscal year in June. Lastly, I'm happy to share that the UFMP community engagement campaign and project we're planning to do with LA County, which we came to the board to get your approval for our MOU, that project has now completed some of the early contracting, and we're beginning to work closely on a weekly basis with the county on the details of that program, and you'll be seeing activity around that ramping up probably in the summer. So the community workshops, neighborhood level workshops, survey and the like will be happening in the near future. And the more ongoing work of our office, again, what I mentioned previously, the tree preservation, interdepartmental policy development and implementation, supporting the various tree planting contracts that are managed by OCB, supporting those through making sure that we're moving forward with those projects, supporting our Community Forest Advisory Committee, and I again have to say thank you to them. Their recent meetings, they've been bringing more and more external resources and education in their meeting space, and I really appreciate their work. And then the USC Urban Trees Initiative and Urban Forest Equity Collective that we also refer to as UFEC. And I'm gonna do a bit of a deep dive on, it isn't that deep, but I'm going to dive in a little bit on the equity projects just to give the board an update on that work. Again, we have these two research projects. I'll just remind again, our UFEC project it consists of many project partners, several members of the city family, as well as our external partners, Northeast Trees, Tree People, Kappa Strategies, UCLA, and others. That project is being led by City Plants. They're the manager of that project, but we are heavily involved in moving that project forward, and are really grateful for all the different city departments and external partners that are engaged in that project team. I'll also add that one of our CFAC reps for CD8, Robin Gilliam, has also been participating, which we really appreciate her feedback in that project. The other project team is the USC Urban Trees Initiative, and as you can see, and for those of you listening in, this project team continues to grow. So it began as a multidisciplinary project with earth sciences, landscape architecture, and their spatial sciences schools, and now, and their community engagement team for the university, and they continue to add more team members and have a really robust student team that's also supporting that project as well. So those are the two project teams that have been working with us for several years now to tackle this issue of tree canopy equity. We know that in the city of Los Angeles, not every neighborhood has access to trees or sufficient shade, and so we're working to address that with these project partners. Just a kind of update on the work that they're doing. They have some pilot neighborhoods that they're doing a deep dive into with their respective projects. The USC project is finishing up a phase 2 that has been looking extensively at University Park and Boyle Heights. You can see in the colorful map that they've used many data layers to help us understand where we should prioritize early investments, where there's high pedestrian traffic because of transportation or routes to school, where our vulnerable populations are, and helped us identify some key streets, as well as layering in the data on where are vacancies for trees and what are the size of those vacancies using our wonderful tree inventory data. The UFEC team has been focusing, and they're just getting started on their phase 2. They're focusing on the communities of Central Alameda and Sylmar. And they did extensive work in developing some criteria of how they prioritize those neighborhoods, which I think in a longer presentation on that specific project we could share with you all, but I'm not going to go into that today. But just so you have an idea of where the active work is happening with those two project teams, as they're, again, doing data analysis, helping us look at policy, looking at design, and also both teams, I cannot stress enough how much they're doing in terms of community engagement and making sure that when we move forward, we're engaging the community. So, again, some of the questions that these projects are helping us answer or dive into continue to be, how do we ensure that we have adequate canopy for healthy, safe communities? Is there enough space for trees in these neighborhoods for the kind of shade that we'd like them to experience? How are we going to make space if there isn't space? And how do we incorporate community feedback in both design decisions and in urban forestry growth in their neighborhoods? So I'll just share briefly one of the things that the UFEC team has found in looking at Central Alameda. They've done this for both of their pilot neighborhoods. In their first phase of work, they looked at what if we planted every street vacancy and private property vacancy in the city with a small tree. So one that's not going to be more than 20, 30 feet tall at maturity, and kind of did a benchmark of where that would get us in terms of tree canopy. But the truth is we can plant medium and large trees in some locations. And so in their second phase, this current phase, they've done that deep dive in those two neighborhoods, having their GIS team look at what would it look like if we planted every single vacant space with the right size tree. And I can just tell you from my experience in the field, we're not going to get 100% of the locations planted. There's going to be community resistance or infrastructure that we may not foresee. So we know that that 100% of locations probably is a high estimate. But what they found in looking at that, and again, working closely with our nonprofit partner, Northeast Trees, that has a grant for planting trees in that neighborhood, so being able to really realize some of those planting locations that we refer to as Tier 1, or ones that we can plant right now, they only get an increase of canopy of about 48%, when our target is a minimum of a 50% increase. So we're finding that we don't have sufficient space. Again, that's public right-of-way and private property trees if we planted every single available location with the existing size tree that would be appropriate, small, medium, or large. And then the other thing that is coming up as we're doing this work is tree maintenance and preservation comes up, which again, we think about those 4 pillars: planting, maintenance, preservation, engagement. We can think about planting, but when we go to talk to communities, they want to know, well, what about the trees in our neighborhood that we want to have preserved? And what about the ones that are not being adequately maintained? And so I have to say that it actually is almost comforting to have that come up, because it, again, reminds us that we're on the right track, remembering that we have to invest in all those areas. But we definitely, both project teams, while initially starting out to say, how can the city strategically plant and have good investments in planting to help with these canopy goals, they're also aiding us in thinking through some of the policy implications or other kinds of community engagement around maintenance and preservation that would be helpful. One more component, I'll just share our next steps, and then I'll wrap up and take any questions. So these 2 projects, they're current next steps, and again, the first phase of work talked about these 3 tiers of investment. Tier 1, I can plant it today. Give me a shovel and a tree. It fits our spacing guidelines. We just need to be able to get that in the ground. Tier 2 is, I need to do some kind of site modification, like the concrete cuts that LA Sanitation is able to do with their grants to make a new tree well or expanded tree well. And Tier 3 is, we aren't going to get to our canopy goals without a more significant change where we may need a new policy or way more funding. And so right now we are asking for both of the project teams have provided some ideas of potential Tier 3 interventions. What are we going to do in these spaces where we are falling short? And so we've asked for some city staff feedback, because this is not the first time we've talked about innovative street design or tree bulb outs and things like that. And so we're asking for some feedback from our other city agencies and departments to make sure that we're incorporating their best practices and knowledge as we get out of the traditional parkway, potentially. The other thing is we're developing the UFEC group is working on developing a tree preservation framework similar to this Tier 1, 2, and 3. How do we think about tree preservation the same way? What's the easy trees to save, the ones that may be more challenging, and the ones that may have a bigger bang for their buck but may be harder to preserve in place? So they're working on some of those tree preservation recommendations so that we can use those to talk with communities. And then both the USC and UFEC projects are involved in an iterative design process with the community. We're starting to look at community engagement and making sure that we really incorporate that community feedback in our design processes and the needs of the urban forest with them. And lastly, in implementation, we'll be obviously partnering with city plans programs like the Tree Ambassador program that does direct level outreach in the neighborhood, or seeking additional funding if we don't have enough for the planting situations that arise. And then developing those policy pathways for implementation in other neighborhoods, because we know that these are pilot neighborhoods, but we have many neighborhoods that still will need interventions after that. And both teams are looking at how we scale, how do we take what we've learned through this process to make it even easier for other neighborhoods. So that is my kind of overview snapshot of, again, there's a treasure trove of information from each project team, tons of detail. I will spare you at the moment, but I do just appreciate their work so much in helping us address this issue that developed over decades, and we want to move more quickly to solve. So my last plug is just a save the date. We've been hosting a tree summit every year, and we've are flagging Thursday, May 25th for the next tree summit. Doing it during Public Works Week and not on a board meeting day, taking notes from the past to make sure that you guys can participate if you're available. But just flagging, there'll be more information coming as we solidify the agenda and location. We are hoping to do at least a portion of the event in person. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Malrich, for your very thorough report. I always enjoy your slides. They always have nice, bright green colors in it, so thank you. I don't have any questions on your specific conversation, but I do want to thank you for moving the Tree Summit first on a non-board day so that we can actually participate and listen and hear what you guys have going on. And also for having it during National Public Works Week. It just adds on to all the great things we're going to have that week. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Any questions, colleagues? Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. Always so informative, Rachel, and your template has always been consistent. I like it. What you provide is really good information. I do have, and you keep all of this at the forefront so that other board offices are also aware of what's going on with our trees, and you're the expert. And thank you for taking on the difficult task of updating our fees, for our recovery. I wanted to know, I heard you say that you're going to go to council before the end of this fiscal year. Is that correct?
The hope is that we'll have a report that we can start moving through the process before the end of the fiscal year. I'm not sure if we would be completed with the council process by then, but that's our mental timeline, is working with the consultant now to give them the available data, doing the necessary interviews, and then having them provide us a report that then we can circulate first to board and then move through the process of getting a new fee structure adopted.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for just a little bit more context to that. I don't have any other questions. I'm just interested to see how that goes with the fee structures. It'll just be another opportunity for us to have a fund for us to do additional work on trees. Thank you.
And I have to say, thanks for the compliment on the template. I have to give the total credit to our public affairs team, who set it up for me when I started and has made it really easy for me to just plug in.
Any other questions or comments, colleagues? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Malrich, for your time this afternoon. We appreciate you, and we always enjoy your report backs.
Thank you.
And you did just well coming in person. Like, didn't even skip a beat.
It's good.
Thank you. All right, colleague, TJ Knight, is this the last of our items for today?
Oh, yes, it is. This clears the desk.
Okay, so we cleared the desk, in other words, right? Colleagues, it is 12:28, and this meeting is now officially adjourned. We are going to cancel management for today as well. Thank you.